people, stay dandy, baby. Boruto and his ninja pals are about to go on a brand new mission with Professor Katasuke, and on the way, they end up meeting a familiar face, the mysterious and now cybernetically enhanced Ao. That's right, my friends. The next major arc in the Kara storyline is about to kick off, and I, for one, could not be more excited. For fans who read the manga, a lot of this material is going to seem very familiar, and it's also going to get you really excited for what's going to be coming next in the storyline. I'm going to do my best to keep spoilers to a minimum for those anime-only watchers. What I will say is, keep watching the show, it's only going to get better from here. So first off, let me just state that I loved this episode. Atmospherically speaking, I think it was fantastic. I think a lot of that has to do with the brand new soundtrack that they're starting to implement in the show. Every single time Kara is on screen, their music is just so hypnotically scary and awesome. I love the theme of Kara. It's just as classic as a lot of the other villainous themes that we've heard throughout the show, but it's distinctive in its very own right. I mean, every single time you just have two members of Kara talking and you have that music playing, it just sends a shiver down my spine. It's really awesome. But there's a lot of big developments that are going on in this episode, like the fact that Konohamaru and Mugino have discovered the blimp, which has crashed in the woods, and as they make their way to this mysterious box, which has seemingly been opened, they're suddenly attacked by all of these weird cybernetic puppet creatures, one of which decides to straight up impale Mugino directly through his chest. Looks like practically going through his heart, and somehow the dude is able to survive. It makes sense why they've been building up the character of Mugino so much, as they wanted to build more impact to this scene when he is injured. Luckily, Konohamaru is there to help him and get his buddy to safety, but who knows, new danger could be lurking around the corner. After that, we go back to Konoha Village, where Boruto is getting told by his father that he and his group are getting ready to go on a brand new mission with Professor Katasuke, who Boruto is not excited to see because, you know, he kind of fucked his shit up during the Chunin exam with the whole scientific ninja tool debacle. But looks like they're going to be going to this place called Ryutan, which is where they're going to bring this brand new prosthetic hand, which is going to be experimented on just a little bit more in a much larger facility, which again is going to lead to more new characters and a lot of new excitement. And Boruto, of course, is not happy about any of this. It's a C-rank mission. He wants nothing to do with Katasuke. After a little bit of drama and a little help from Sarada and Mitsuki, he decides that he is going to go along. And this leads to one of the best scenes of the entire episode, where they get on a train and there's barely any seats, but luckily the one that's completely open to them happens to be inhabited by none other than Ao of the Hidden Mist Village. And this is super convenient because, one, we get a sort of great interaction between Ao and Katasuke, because Katasuke is the one who created all of his cybernetic enhancements. He's even there to sort of help him tighten up some of those loose screws and everything, which is great. But Ao is a great antithesis to the character of Boruto, and maybe even his teammates in general, as Ao comes from a completely different time in the ninja and shinobi world. A lot of that being that when he was Boruto's age, he was already on the battlefield, going into fights and possibly even killing people and defending his very own comrades. Not to mention, he was a survivor of the Great Shinobi War, where all of his comrades were killed, and resulted in the way that he is now, having to have all of these cybernetic implants and prosthetics. This ties directly perfect with everything that's going on with Boruto, who seems to have a lot of resentment towards this brand new scientific technology, until realizing how important it is for people like Ao, who actually need this in order to actually continue their lives. That, and the fact that it leads to a great scene where Ao ends up scaring the shit out of all of them by taking one of Katasuke's screwdrivers and basically planting it right into Boruto's neck, saying that it doesn't matter what the tool is, it's how you use it. This is something that Boruto learns from his father a little earlier on in the episode, but he completely disregards it. But when he sees it in a situation like this, where someone can take a seemingly normal-looking tool that you can find just about in anyone's garage or workshop, and you can suddenly transform it into a weapon, it's an important message here, and it allows him to realize the importance of this character, as well as also possibly causing him to shit his pants. But at the same time, it also sort of like gets him excited for the fact that they're about to go on this mission, and he realizes the importance of the thing that he's actually carrying and doing for his father. It just took seeing a weird cybernetic ninja in order for this to happen, but sometimes you need something like that to push you a little bit further, and Boruto learns this certainly the hard way, while at the same time also gaining a lot of respect for the character of Ao as well. As they depart to this random brand new place known as Ryutan, we get to see that Ao is met by none other than Kashin Koji, who manages to ninja his way onto this train, which is really awesome, just suddenly appearing directly behind him, and that's when we get the big bombshell. Ao's just not in Konoha village to get a visit and tune up for all of his prosthetics. He was actually there to make sure that Katasuke was not going to reveal some of the secrets, and if he was straight up going to kill him. And that's because Ao is an outer of Kara. This is a really big piece of information and paints the character in a completely different light and leads me to ask so many questions. When I saw this in the manga for the very first time, I just kept asking myself, what was Ao's motivation for wanting to join this organization? How long has Kara actually existed? Have they existed before the actual Great Shinobi War? Was he always a member of Kara? Did he simply join them after the Great War? What is truly his motivation for wanting to be a part of this group, which apparently has not kept him all that busy, considering he hasn't seen any combat in 16 years. This is the very first time that he's getting ready to go into the combat because Kashin Koji gives him the task of retrieving the vessel, which means, of course, he's probably going to be running into Konohamaru, Mugino, or anyone else who gets involved in trying to reclaim this vessel, which means it's going to lead to one hell of a major conflict. What's really cool here is that Kashin Koji also reveals that he's the one who killed Victor to Ao, much not to his shock. He had no problem with this whatsoever, again demonstrating how different of a person Ao is when compared to some of the younger and newer characters in the series. They just come from a different time where not being able to show their emotions or everything is a part of what it meant to be a ninja. He's not shocked by any of this, and apparently his confidant was actually going to be Victor. I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention another scene with Kara with Jigen and Amato, as Jigen realizes that while Victor was indeed going to try and steal their vessel away, he still believes that there's another traitor amongst the group who is actually responsible for bringing this thing down, much to the shock of Amato, who has now been tasked with figuring out who that traitor is going to be, and he does not look too thrilled to actually go along with this. Again, there's not much to this scene outside of the fact that it's incredibly atmospheric and awesome, and all these members of Kara seem to have a great amount of respect for the character of Jigen, as if they really don't want to mess with him or go against his ideals, and if you read the manga, you know exactly why. The fact of the matter is, all that stuff is really great too, but man, this was a really well-paced episode with a lot of really great moments that's building up the next major portion of the arc, and this is one of those instances where I say if you haven't watched the episode yet, don't watch the preview for the next episode. I highly recommend that you get surprised by some of the events and some of the other characters who are going to be showing up in this arc, as it's got a lot of really nice surprises, and I don't want you to get too spoiled by anything. But again, if you just read the manga anyway, just check it out. It's all awesome. And let's get to it. The rundown of this episode of Boruto Naruto Next Generations. So, I really love this episode, as you guys know. Atmospherically speaking, I think it worked really well. The moment between Kashin Koji and Ao was fantastic. Again, not just because of the tenseness of their conversation, but again, I think that the creators of the series are doing a fantastic job by building up that really tense and scary atmosphere with Kara's theme. I just think it's so unique and awesome. I can't get over the brand new music that they're including in the show. I just think it adds so much more character to this series, and I never imagined that there would be music like that while I was like reading the manga version. Again, the anime always manages to surprise me with these moments, and it's the reason why I tend to like the anime over the manga. You know, it isn't just the color or the animation, it is the overall atmosphere that they managed to build up for the series, and man, I'll be damned if they're not doing a great job with that. Also, just a minor thing, I finally watched the brand new ending for Boruto, and a lot of times I tend to skip them. I really like the new one. I don't know what it is. It just gives me a warm, nostalgic feeling of watching these characters skateboard and rollerblade in like a modern-looking city with all of these neon lights. The song is really catchy too. I don't know. Every once in a while, there's like a Naruto or Boruto ending that really catches my eye and my ears, and I really like this one right here. Like I said, nothing special about it. I just think visually it's really good, and it's calming, and it's the type of thing I love to watch after a really tense episode of the series. I didn't mention it when I mentioned the brand new opening. Maybe if I did, it was very brief, but yeah, I really like that as well. Otherwise, this is the continuation of a really good storyline, which I just cannot wait to see more of. Production value-wise, pretty good looking episode. Nothing too grandiose going on though. There's not like any major fights or anything going on, but I still love all of the distinctive character design. Kashin Koji still continues to look really awesome. I love his voice. Ao is also really awesome too. I mean, before I liked his design because of how different it was from some of the other characters that we saw, but all of the cyborg implants and prosthetics and everything just make him all the more distinctive and really interesting, and it's got me so excited to see him in battle, especially because he was a pretty hardcore freaking ninja. Like, this guy guy was a badass. So I cannot wait to see what he's actually going to do in the anime version with all of these brand new powers that he's going to bring to the table and who he's actually going to end up battling against. Point is, stay tuned. Lots of great stuff happening. I loved this episode. I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. I really liked it. If I had any complaints that would only be superficial, there was enough to chew on in this episode, a lot of atmosphere. If I only had major one complaint, I think it was probably just the scene with Boruto bitching about the fact that they had a C-rank mission. Maybe that all went on a little bit too long, but it was all supplemented by some really great scenes after that, whether it be with Kara or the really great train scene. I love that. I just thought it was really handled well. It was the type of scene that when I read in the manga, I'm like, they're going to find a way to make this whole train scene like an entire episode. They got through it in a matter of minutes, and it was handled really freaking well. I loved it. I loved this episode, but I'd love to get your thoughts. Yours may differ. You may not have liked this episode. Make sure to sound off in the comments section below telling me what you thought about the latest episode of Boruto, Naruto Next Generations. Who is the traitor amongst Kara? What do you think about the big return of Ao and the fact that he's an outer member of the group? And who's he going to run into and fight against as he tries to retrieve that vessel? Let's talk all about that in the future of the series. Comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. Please subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. If you did like this video, use your kunai, use your shuriken, throw it at the like button. It helps out these videos a lot and ensures more people can actually see my content. I also would like to go ahead and thank my patrons who've been checking out my Patreon page, leaving me those amazing monthly donations. I cannot thank you enough for that. Remember, first-time donators, I'll review an anime series of your choice, as well as adding your name to this list of super awesome people, the badass producers of Ace Guru. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay down there, baby.